All right, hey, welcome back to Car Talks, where I rant, ramble, rave, and word about my thoughts on training, life, and fitness. I'm not sure that I've talked about this one before, but I'm going to talk about it again if I have, because I just talked about conditioning and psychological triggers and things like that. But being able to understand conditioning, both in the sense of physical preparation, and then conditioning in the behavioral sense, right? If you've known Pavlov's dogs and the story behind Pavlov's dogs, he basically rang a bell and then would give them a treat and would do this over and over and over again. And over time, the bell ringing would trigger salivation in the dogs because they were getting ready to eat, and they would psychologically switch into that, right? So we can create behaviors. Now, I was writing an article for our facility website based on conditioning and principles, and felt it necessary to bring up this topic. If you condition athletes or yourself to the point of vomiting, to the point of absolute exhaustion, just for the sake of hard work or getting work done, okay, what you end up doing, one, you're probably not conditioning in a way that's really truly effective for a sport, right? Unless your sport is vomiting. But being able to sit there and understand when people feel bad, they create negative associations with that thing, right? Now, I gave the example in the article. If you eat wild berries and they cause you to throw up, you're probably not going to eat a whole lot of wild berries after that, right? You eat, I learned this one from a teammate in high school who ate a Fiber One bar right after weigh-ins for a wrestling match, and the fiber caused him to almost poop himself on the mat. He kind of ran off the mat and ran to the bathroom immediately. He never ate Fiber One bars again, right? There's a negative association that was created based on the response from a certain stimulus, right? And so when we look at conditioning, if you're conditioning to vomit point, if you're conditioning to pure exhaustion, or if you use exercise as a punishment, beware of the psychological conditioning that's taking place in the behavioral changes. Because if you create a negative association with exercise, if you create a negative association with training, what's going to long-term happen is that the people you want to train will not want to do it, right? And that poses a risk to them because they run a higher risk of getting injured on the field. It runs a higher risk of you if you're someone that works in the private sector and doesn't want to lose your job, right? Or if as a teacher you don't want to lose your job because your team sucks and doesn't win, right? And I'm talking about teacher, coaches, and public schools, stuff like that. But being able to understand, we want to train and condition athletes to associate positive outcomes with training, to feel better, to feel good about themselves, both in a psychological self-esteem, but also in their ability to perform. I think that's something that's really, really crucial when we look at conditioning and we look at training in itself. It doesn't have to be miserable. We got to be wary of the psychological things that are going on inside the brain and kind of the behavior responses that we're creating when we plan out our training sessions and how hard we train. So just a thought for the day. And until next time, we'll see you in the passenger seat.